And what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Designated Players and MLS podcast. Today it's USMNT focus because on the day of posting, USMNT are about to kick off their Gold Cup run on the back of two horrific performances in their tune-up friendlies against Turkey and Switzerland. But today, before the matches, we're going to do a little breakdown of those friendlies, talk about the players who impressed, the players who need to step up. If it's time to panic, is it time to look for a new manager? Are we back to Gio Reyna 2.0 with parents attacking pundits? I mean, we got so much to cover. I'm Andrew, that's Connor. This is your USMNT roundup. We're going to get after it. Connor, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful. How you doing?
Um, well, this is going to be quite the breakdown. So I'm excited to talk about it, excited to post it, and then luckily I won't ever have to look at the comments or anything. So it'll be very, very fun. What isn't so very fun are the USMNT's performances in the last couple of games. And what's even less fun is the fact that we now need to talk about it. So why don't we just jump right into Scarf of the Week? How are we?
I don't want to do any jumping. All right, let's settle down. Why don't we like slide into Scarf of the Week?
Slide
Jumping is
right
too
in.
much effort. It's the end of the day. I don't have energy to jump, but what I do have energy for is this Philadelphia Union scarf because they have the joint most MLS players in the Gold Cup squad.
I am a true fan, so I've got the United States scarf. I need a new one. Hopefully, I can get one when they're decent at 2040. You were supposed to laugh at that, but that didn't.
I'm sorry. I keep getting distracted by the group chat. Let me turn. Hold on. I'm gonna put it on Do Not Disturb so I can
Yeah,
focus.
good decision. Listen, so I want to start off here first with the friendlies. Let's tack. Let's talk a little bit without going terribly in depth because it's not a first team roster. It's not realistically even a second team roster. It's really a January camp roster, right? There are players here I think we all can agree on that don't belong to be back anytime soon, but it was also a chance for players to prove where they can play. Is it ideal to do that before a year before the World Cup against teams like Turkey and Switzerland? No, it's not. But when half of your starting 11 is injured or choosing not to show up, this is the best use of that time, in my opinion, right? No matter who got called up, half the fan base was going to be saying you should have called up player X because they have a better shot than player Y at making the first team. Ignore this and let's focus on what we have in front of us. What were your thoughts on the just shambolic, I like that word, shambolic performances from the U.S. men's national team? Let's start with the first game too. Start with Turkey.
Listen, I mean, I understand that this is like the C or D team or whatever you want to call it. But there are guys in this team that are supposed to be in the mix for this World Cup team. And to string together, I mean, I'm not going to, we'll take it one game at a time, but I'm just going to, for this one
Mm-hmm.
point, going to
Yeah.
just group it together. For the sake of this two-game friendly spread here, was it just unbelievable. Like, just so bad. I mean, just awful. Like, and it's honestly, it's a good summary of the direction this team is headed in. I mean, we are on, I mean, I don't know if SofaScore here is missing games, but four straight losses for this
Yep.
team.
4 in a row.
That's, and it's not like, okay, we're playing Brazil, France, Germany, and like Spain. Like, it's Panama, Canada, Turkey, and Switzerland. All four of those games are winnable. Sure, some of them aren't easy, but all four of those games are winnable. And they have just not showed out for a while now and have looked poor. And there's more stuff that we'll talk about with this team, I'm sure. So I'm not going to jump the gun too much, but this game was just a great summarization of that. And it was just, this team is just so frustrating right now. They are just unbelievably frustrating.
The biggest worry that I have, because I don't think Turkey in particular was a terrible game, right? We had moments where we looked okay. We had a 5 minute lapse of focus from our Atletico Madrid bound Johnny Cardoso. But what worried me about this
But
game,
he's in Europe.
yeah, when the European guy is the worst player in the team, the mental gymnastics watching the USMNT Twitter go through the mental gymnastics to prove that it wasn't his fault was great. But what worried me about this game most, from a coaching perspective, was that it felt like Pochettino was experimenting with tactics that didn't make sense for the first team. What I mean by that, I look at Alex Freeman, right? Alex Freeman in possession. Well, when we watch him with Orlando, right? When we watch Alex Freeman with Orlando, he is fantastic at getting forward. He's a right wing back, and he bombs forward. He gets involved in the play. He gets a lot of goals, assists. He creates a lot of chances, right? In this shape, they the coaching staff, whoever it may be, in possession, kept him as the right-sided center back in a back three. Regardless of what you thought of Alex Freeman's ability going forward, which I thought he looked good in the chances he did go forward, if you expand this out to what the first team will be playing, that right back spot is going to Serginho Dest. Are you going to keep Serginho Dest as a right center back and build out? If you are, you should be fired now because he is I mean, even in Greg's very bland and boring system, he and Anthony Robinson created the chances because they were so good at getting forward and going and getting on the ball. So we go into a game like that to say, okay, what does this system look like, even if the players don't necessarily perfectly fit the mold? And the first thing you're gonna do is take your right back, who the one player on the team who's very good at going forward. You're gonna stick him as the right center back in a back three. It didn't make sense to me, right? On the better side of that, we did look good in possession. We kept the ball well. We played out of pressure really nicely. But this game shows you what happens when you lose focus for 90 minutes, or if you don't stay focused for 90 minutes. Brilliant start. We had two goals in 90 seconds, it felt like, both caused by a lapse in concentration by Johnny Cardoso, and it put us behind. We had multiple chances to get back into it, and we couldn't convert them. It felt like that was not great, but it was a lot better than it could have been, right? Then we got to Switzerland. Your thoughts on the Swiss game?
Oh my God. I mean, where do you honestly, where do you even begin? I like again, I understand that this isn't the first team, and I think the first team would show out more, but this to me felt like the game where it just feels like Pochettino just doesn't get it with this team, with just the USMNT roster. Like I just I'm not saying he's a bad manager because I don't think he is, but I just don't think he is just quite getting it with the players that he has available for him. Because and it's not like, oh, he's only getting bad results with this like rotated team because we weren't getting results in the Nations League when he had, the best players available to him. So it just feels like tactically he can't figure it out with them. And we're kind of running out of time for you to be able to figure it out. So it's a really concerning sign, I would say. Um, I understand that Greg kind of, got us to a point where we got capped and we couldn't really like take the team further. And Pochettino was somebody who we could bring in to potentially take us there further. But the one thing about Greg though is I think he brought tactics where you probably wouldn't see a spiral like this. It was, I feel like maybe a little bit more of a safer tactic where you were probably still going to be able to get something out of your players there, maybe not necessarily reaching their peak. And now I think we took the risk and it is backfiring big time. And I feel like the Switzerland game is like the one to point at for all of that. Just like the like what would you like the thumbnail, I guess, if I'm putting it in YouTube terms of summarizing the current state of the USMNT.
You're such a content creator, bro.
I know, content
Um,
focused.
Listen, Poch came out and he fully admitted that he was experimenting with the lineup and the tactics, right? Is this the right time to experiment with the lineups and the tactics? Nope, probably not. And again, going back, I remember when we previewed him, the big thing for him was he was going to create overloads with wide players and go 1v1 and try and do all this stuff. And what didn't quite click for me was this idea that in the Turkey game, he kept it as a back three and just let Jack McGlynn be alone 1v1 the whole time. It worked relatively well when we were able to find him. We didn't do it often, but when we did, it was okay. And then the second game, he switches it up and he lets his fullbacks, stay at home. Every once in a while, they get high, but then it was two wide players who were trying to create chances on their own without having any overloads. It's like, well, this isn't what you were showing when you were at club football. Like, I don't I don't really get where the tactics were going with, right? Um, Switzerland outclassed us, right? Poch didn't have an answer for it. He might not have had an answer for it just on the bench. Like, even when the personnel that came in and they subbed on, they looked better, but they did not look at the national team level, which I think is not a bold take. Okay. What I do want to know here is which players do you think in the very, very short window of time do you think had their stock rise from this camp? There might not have been many, but there were a few.
I mean, I think McGlynn's stock rises. I mean, I think that's the obvious one, right? Your sole goal scorer across the two friendlies. I think his stock's been rising just in general anyway with his time in Houston. I think he's really starting to make a more of a name for himself. I know he was kind of always known as like up and coming in Philly, but now it feels like he's starting to like hit that potential that people were talking about for him. So I think his stock has risen, but I don't think he's like in the conversation for World Cup roster necessarily. I think someone like Diego Luna is still growing his stock. Um, I don't think he really necessarily did anything wrong to hurt his stock here. But again, another guy that I don't think is necessarily going to be in the picture for the World Cup, but guys that I think are starting to make themselves, make it a tougher decision for Poch to leave them out, to kind of have them on maybe the outside of a World Cup roster rotational spot looking in. I'll go with if I'm going to pick someone that I think has a good shot to make the roster, I'll go with Malik Tillman. I think he's had good seasons at PSV. I don't think he really did anything wrong here to lose any stature for him. I think he has a pretty good chance at making the team, even if he's not necessarily a starter. So I think, a decent game from him against Turkey probably keeps him in the conversation for that rotational spot in the World Cup roster.
Yeah, I think there are a few players here. I think you hit on a couple of them. A shout out to Chris Richards. He's the only guy I think most people, including myself, trust as a center back right now. He was great against Turkey. Didn't play against Switzerland, but he was. I mean, the reason Turkey was as close as it was because Chris Richards was there. Lock-in starter for the World Cup, no question about it. Staying in the back, even out of his best role, Alex Freeman looks solid. I mean, he went up against one of the most promising wingers in European football against Turkey and didn't give an inch. Super, super impressive. I'd like to see him get forward a bit more, but not complaining about it. Malik Tillman, best performance in the U.S. shirt to date. Still think he needs to step up with the first team, but breath of fresh air to see that. Diego Luna, I agree. I disagree with you saying that he might not be a lock in. I think he's a lock for the World Cup team. Whether he gets time or not, don't know, but I think he's there over right now over a guy like Brendan Aronson, who, I mean, again, I think it's tough to take stock out of that Switzerland game because they were all so bad. But right now, I'm taking Diego Luna over Brendan Aronson.
I just want to, before you keep going, I just want to clarify that I would prefer Luna over Aronson, but I just think that they really like Aronson, and probably understandably. I mean, he's a hard worker, and I think that's just like an easy pick for a lot of coaches. But I think they're gonna go with Aronson over Luna, but I feel like I would prefer Luna.
I don't know. Poch likes Luna, man. I listened to his chat with Landon Donovan and Tim Howard, and he likes Diego Luna, so I think he's there.
I mean, I
Um,
hope I'm wrong. I do.
Me too, and you usually are, so we're in good shape there. Um, John Tolkien didn't get a lot of time, but I thought he looked good when he was in that role. I enjoyed watching him play there. It was good to see him play again. It's been quite a minute. And then maybe my more controversial one. I think Max Arfson's stock went up, but with a caveat. When he was going forward against Turkey, it was really nice to see. That's how I'm going to phrase that. His ability to go forward, he doesn't have the end product yet. That's very, very clear. He's still missing that last little bit but for his age and the style that he plays, I think his upside going forward is super, super high. The problem is that they used him as a pure left back against Switzerland, and he got ruined. I mean, every diagonal got hit over his head, and he couldn't deal with it. Every time he got one on one, standing up a guy 1v1, he got burned. Like he's just not a defender. If I see him in this group, in the group, I don't know if 2026 is for him, but if he's going to make this group in the near future, it's not as a left back. It's going to be as a wing player. It's going to be as a wide player. He looked like he had bits of promise going forward. Very nice on the ball, good runs, good decision making. Just missing that final product. Defensively, he was a nightmare. So long as they're not planning on using him long term as a left back, I think his stock went up. If they're planning on using him as pure left back, straight through the floor. And speaking of
Yeah.
players whose stocks went down, do you have anybody for that list? Because I've got seven of them.
I mean, you could probably say almost everybody, honestly. I hate to say it because I was very optimistic for him going into the season, but I think Patrick Ajimong, I think his stock went a little bit down here. I think he had a very good start with USMNT, and I think I let that kind of corrupt my brain a little bit into thinking that he was going to continue that hot streak, and I think his stock definitely took a little bit of a hit here. If he, I think he was an outsider going in with a World Cup shot here, but I think he probably doesn't have that anymore. Listen, I don't think the next guy, I don't think necessarily hurt. I think he probably still makes the World Cup roster, but I think inevitably you have to say that Johnny Stock got hurt here. I mean, that just the Turkey game alone, like even if you're just talking optically, like it was just a really bad look. Like it was a really, really poor game. And to be honest with you, it's not uncommon for him in a USMNT shirt. Like, sure, he could be a great club player, but when he puts the USMNT shirt on, he's not alone in this. There's other players too. It's just like a different player out there. Like he just, I'm sure you have plenty to say about this because I remember you've like made plenty of comments about Johnny before, but he just makes a lot of like stupid mistakes, and like those stupid mistakes are so killer for teams a lot of the times, and we really just can't be making those. Um, so I'd probably, I mean, listen, you could make a huge list of people that probably had their stock hurt, but I'll focus on those two.
Yeah, well, let me get going then because this
That should be
entire
good.
window outside of the four or five players we talked about beforehand, pretty much all stock down, which is not a good look going into the World Cup, right? We're gonna start way in the
Yeah.
back. Matt Turner, you're done. Out you go. He's got to get playing time. I know Leon is looking to buy in, but is he going to play there either? I have no idea. Not every goal was his fault, but there are goals that I think he should have saved and goals that he shouldn't have conceded, right? The rebound that he gave up for the third goal against Switzerland was something that if I saw a JV player make, I would have pulled them out of the game. I mean, it's a simple collapse to your left. Your parry just needs to go continue the path of the ball. It doesn't need to go anywhere else except this way. And he put it directly back in the path of the goal. He let it sit right on the 6 yard line, and they just tapped it home. And it's like, you can't do that at the national team level. Secondly, Nathan Harriel, you're done. So far out of your element. He can go home today, and I'm not upset about it. Right? I know he was hurt with Philly. I know he's still getting back into it. I know he was a reserve call up. Right? He got called up because other people got hurt. There are three right backs in MLS right now I would have taken over him. It just heck, I would have gone Kyle Duncan over him, and Kyle Duncan is not that good right now. He's also coming off an injury. Yeah, if he doesn't play another minute, cool with it. Johnny Cardoso, have a good one. Have a bad one. I don't care. You're going to. I don't care how much Atletico Madrid is going to pay for you. I'm going to give you extra money to keep him away from the national team. Dude can't do it. He puts on the shirt and he has the number 9 curse as a 6.
He's
Anytime
got
he
the
puts
Josh Sargent curse is what he's
yeah,
got.
dude just cannot perform with the national team. And I don't even know if it's an arrogance thing, but look at the goal that came off of his nonchalant passing. He's dribbling square across his 18-yard box, and instead of laying it off to the goalkeeper or playing it, a safer pass, he tries an outside of the boot flick to split two pressing players to get to a left back. Like that's basic stuff. You don't have it in your locker, son. Sorry, you're done. If you're talking about who I'm thinking is going to take that, Aiden Morris can take that backup 6 role, right? There are a couple other players. I mean, I don't know where James Sands is in his recovery. James Sands probably is in the conversation for that role. There are tons of other people for that backup 6 role. It's not Johnny, right? And until he can prove it, and again, this is the USMNT thing. Like, oh, it's just the Gold Cup. Anybody can win the Gold Cup. Whenever you show the MLS team that Greg won with, like, oh yeah, well, it's just the Gold Cup. Well, here we are prepping for the Gold Cup, and if he doesn't show out and play, he's out. Sorry. I know these are tougher than Gold Cup opponents, but I mean, these are the ones we're playing in the World Cup. If you can't do it here, you can't do it anywhere. Walker Zimmerman coming off that concussion, another player who got brought in as a replacement, who I'm not so sure is here yet. I think he's fallen down the pecking order. The only thing that keeps him involved is the fact that the uh, the center back pool is so bad that he might make it as like center back four. Sebastian Berhalter, okay, not great, right? Especially in possession. I think he was pretty poor in possession against Switzerland. I don't know if I trust him as Adams' backup, but right now I don't trust anybody there. So Tyler Adams, don't get hurt. Quinn Sullivan, underwhelming. Might be a bit too early for him. I think he was good, but not impactful enough to earn a World Cup spot. And then both Brian White and Patrick Agyemang, two sides of the same coin, both ineffective in hold up play the majority of the time, lack the killer instinct or ability to create much. I don't think any of them have earned a spot yet. That nine role continues to be an issue for this team, and we have yet to find an answer for it, which is worrying. I hope we get to see Damian Downs because we're running out of options. Speaking of running out of options, running out of time, is it time to panic? I've heard Poch out. I've heard we're going to get grouped at the World Cup. I've heard we're going to get grouped at the Gold Cup. I've heard we're not going to pick up a point for the next 15 years because of somehow Greg Berhalter's name got brought back up because, of course, he did. Is it time to panic?
Maybe a little bit, honestly. I,
Ooh.
I'm kind of I'm a little bit on board of the panic because I'm not feeling confident in Poch being able to figure it out with this team. I understand he was experimenting, which I'm okay with, but like also, the experiments need to show some success, and I feel like we got zero success out of these last two games. So there's only so much more time you can experiment. We have to figure things out at some point, and I feel like we are far from figuring them out right now. The headspace of this team is just horrible. It is horrendous. Like I it's just like night and day compared to what 2014 USMNT looked like. It was like us against the world mentality. They were tough, they were gritty. And listen, I don't want to keep peddling the same narrative that everybody else is peddling, but it really does feel like this team feels like a bunch of prima donnas sometimes compared to, I mean, definitely compared to what you look at in the 2014 team. And I really think the mentality is just in a really brutal spot right now. And I'm not all of that is Poch's fault, but the direction the team is heading right now, I can completely understand why people are in panic mode. I'm not saying you should be firing Poch. I don't think that's the right move. I don't think there's enough time. I think you just got to stick it out and hope he figures it out. But I completely understand people panicking.
I don't know if friendlies against top competition with a January camp roster is, panic time.
I know, but
However,
but combine it with the Nations League games that we just had too, and I think I understand it.
yeah, first real tournament coming in, I'll give him a pass for that. Here's what I'll tell you. If we don't run through the group nine points and, comfortably 9 points with Trinidad and Tobago, Haiti, and Saudi Arabia, and I'll say that's a worry. I'll say if we don't get out of that group, blow it all up, give San Jose $1 billion to let Bruce go from his contract, run it back with the old boys. Because I mean, at this point, what more do we have to lose, right? The status went from, yeah, we probably should win the Gold Cup, but whatever, to we need to win this tournament. Like we need to win this tournament. You've not shown anything yet to prove you're a capable team. You've got the World Cup coming in 364 days. And I don't really want to hear the whole like, oh, and I know I've been using it too, the January camp, whatever, but that was for the friendlies, right? If we go into the Gold Cup, a tournament that has been historically for the last 6, 7, 8 years, whatever, a MLS heavy tournament, and Greg has won it multiple times with MLS heavy players, and you can't do it with this group, we have clearly taken a step back. So it's time to put up or shut up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, he has to do something here. I mean, the direction the team is heading in, he has to do something to at least just turn it around optically. Like, it doesn't have to be pretty. Give us a Greg performance from the last time we won the Gold Cup. That was not pretty, but we won it. We just need that. I really just think we just need some kind of confidence right now.
He needs to prove it, right? He's yet to prove that he is the guy, right? He's coached 10 times. He's got 5 wins, 5 losses. That's not great. I think I saw a stat that he's, I mean, by far the worst. And his wins, Panama, Jamaica, Venezuela's C team, Costa Rica, and that's it. He lost to Mexico, the worst Mexican generation of all time. Couldn't beat them. Lost to Panama, lost to Canada, and then these two losses, Turkey, I think you can be like, okay, sure, maybe, but a 4-0 loss to Switzerland in that manner, he hasn't proven that he can do the job, right? So at this point, you better win every single game that you play, and you better win it handily. Otherwise, we're in trouble. And if you don't, you're going to have very angry parents of the players calling your house because that is what we're at. We've got some people who are crashing out hard, and we're going to pivot really quickly to end this episode on Christian Pulisic because we've got to be living in some sort of simulation here. So just a couple of years after the whole Gio Reyna, his parents going in and calling the federation to get a coach fired in the most youth soccer American thing I've ever seen, another story comes out that another parent is coming and getting upset with people. Landon Donovan took to the airwaves to publicly thrash Pulisic's decision to not come to the friendlies of the Gold Cup. And then Pulisic's dad goes into the comments of Instagram. Imagine telling this story, by the way, in like 1998. Like, yeah, a dude's dad went online and wrote hate, like angry comments on a message board.
Imagine like Kyle Beckerman's dad's like ranting in the Instagram comments
Oh
section.
my God. It's giving Gio Reyna 2.0 vibes, which is insane. Donovan then is asked by the media to explain it. He says, "No, I won't tell you now, but tune into my podcast to hear the full thoughts because hell yeah." Um, and then they actually had a live show doing this, and Tim Howard comes out and is like, "Oh yeah, I said something bad about Christian Pulisic, and his dad told me he didn't like it either. I told Christian Pulisic to call me. He DMs me. I gave him my number, and he never called me. So if you're looking for Christian Pulisic to come on our podcast, it's not happening. Are we in a simulation? What are we doing? What is going on?"
That really sums up the state of this organization right now.
We
Like
got we got more
honestly,
drama than we do. People are talking more about the drama of our team than the actual performance of the players, and that tells you a lot, right?
we're
Especially in
we're
these.
getting more headlines than we are goals.
Yeah, yeah, it's ridiculous. Then, in an effort, he says it wasn't to defend himself, but in an effort to kind of clear his name, Pulisic sits down with Jimmy Conrad, Tony Meola, and Charlie Davies to chat about what he went through in making his decision to skip out. First off, he's like, people calling him out are out of line. Do you agree with that?
I mean, we talked about this before, and I was on the side of being fine with him skipping out on the Gold Cup. So I wouldn't say it's out of line, but I don't necessarily agree with the people that are calling him out.
I mean, I kind of disagree with you there. Where I think we agree. We both were not. We didn't have a problem with him doing this, like leaving. But I guess in the back of my head, it was I don't have a problem with it so long as you stand by it, right? And I also think it depends on who's calling you out, right? I think Donovan calling him out's weird because we know that Landon Donovan asked for a break at 1.2, right? And he did it with way less minutes on his legs. But I think if like somebody like Clint Dempsey, who has grinded from the ground up to get to where he was, calls you out for being soft, I think you just sit there and you take it because I don't think he's wrong, right? So again, we'll get to this in a little bit, but it just feels weird that he had to go on and like defend himself over this. Like it didn't feel like that was something he needed to do. But
I mean, it just made the situation worse.
I agree. I completely agree. But I mean, we'll get to that in a little bit here. But he also commented, and this is something that really of the entire thing irked me, and the reason why I didn't think this was necessary. He goes on and they're talking to him about, oh, why did you choose to do this? And instantly he mentions that it's going to give him time to rest and recover before heading into next season, meaning his next Milan season. And for weeks, months, I mean, however long we've been talking about this, the reason we keep talking about the national team mentality is because that players have been conditioned to believe that European football is the highest calling, not the national team, right? And everyone's like, oh no, everybody loves the national team. He's now saying that he has intentionally asked for a break from the national team so that he can prepare for a club team. That's the only problem I had with this, right? If he was truly hurt, truly mentally fatigued, he could have come out and said, "Yeah, no, I was dealing with something, or my mind wasn't there. I needed just a full reset, not to prepare for anything. I just needed to get my mind off football." Great, happy for you. To come out and say, "Oh yeah, I needed to prepare for my next Milan season," really, really grinded my gears, however you want to, phrase that, because comments and decisions like this prove this idea or give a false positive to this idea that players think that their European club is better than the national team. And again, I am club over country, right? I don't care if that's a thing, but don't hide it as one thing and then cover it as another. So I didn't really love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about how the mentality from like again, if you're going to compare 2014 to now, the mentality shifted from I'm going to perform well, and it was I would say a lot more Major League Soccer guys back in 2014. I'm going to perform well in Major League Soccer so that my goal is I can get into the national team. And now, like you said, there was so much emphasis on you got to make it to Europe, you got to make it to Europe, you got to make it to Europe. Now that it shifted from I'm going to perform well in Major League Soccer so that I can go play in Europe. It's no longer I'm going to perform in Major League Soccer so that I can get into the national team. And I
Yeah.
think that is ultimately what has created this tumultuous situation where people just don't seem to like they don't have that same mentality anymore of like this was my goal. Like I'm going to obviously play my hardest here because this is what I was striving for. I think this is just an added benefit of hitting your goal of making it over to Europe and succeeding over in Europe.
Yep. And again, that's what bothered me because if you're going to come out here and say, "Oh, I care, I care, I care," you can't come out and say, "Oh yeah, I needed a break to prep for Milan." That bothers me, right? If you came out and said, "I really needed just my mind off football, my mind off everything. I just needed time to relax," right? He posted that picture too, right, where he was out with his family at a zoo or something, maybe. I don't quite know where he was. Great. I'm glad that you're taking that time to recover and focus on yourself. But then don't again, if he had left it at that, not even done this podcast, I'm like, great, awesome. He's really taking time for himself. But to come out and be like, oh yeah, I really need to focus on Milan, and then go, oh, but I'm focused on Milan so that I'm in good form for when I come into the World Cup. It feels backhanded, feels half-hearted. Didn't love it.
Yeah, agreed.
Then the other big thing I took away from this was that it feels like there's this tear in the relationship between the new coach and the player. Every other week, it's felt like they are just throwing each other under the bus, right? Pulisic doesn't want to come to camp. Poch goes straight to the media and makes sure it makes headlines. Oh, this was Christian's decision, not mine. Where he very easily could have been like, yep, I chose to give him a break because of his long season. Then Pulisic hops on an interview that is completely unnecessary and calls out this thing about how the coach only wants to make one roster for both the friendlies and the Gold Cup, didn't want to do two rosters. And they made him pick and choose, and he had to choose, what he wanted. And it's the coach's fault. Because if they just said he could have come to the friendlies, he would have come to the friendlies and skipped out. It just feels like the vibes are gone, right? This whole Mauricio Pochettino honeymoon is over, and we're starting to see the cracks, right? And it just feels like they are. And he also mentioned they haven't spoken with it since. Like they went on the call. It was like, hey, I want to go for half of it, not all of it. And he's like, no, you got to come for both. Okay, I'm not coming at all. And they hang up and they haven't spoken about it at all. Maybe a problem, maybe not. Don't know. But this is not the vibe that you want to head into a major tournament with, personally.
Yeah, I mean, listen, cover your ears, Euro snobs, but not saying Greg's time always had the best vibes, but Greg had some peak vibes at points. I mean, we're talking back like bounce pass Greg, 3-2. Like, I will never forget that one game where they beat Mexico in extra time in the Nations League final 3-2. Like, that was peak vibes from this team. And I feel like it's been downhill since then, but my goodness if that felt like 2014, like that felt like such a gritty USMNT to a T type of win. Like just forget skill. Like they just wanted it more. It felt like they just wanted it more. And then since then, I just have not felt like that at all since that point.
Yeah, and it's a whole bunch of things, right? I think it comes from the players, it comes from the coaching staff, it comes from this thing where everything's all negative around it. And it kind of, I think it started online, right? Where it's like, oh, Greg's an MLS manager. We can't support him. And again, we've talked about it. Bringing him back was a problem. He shouldn't have come back for the second run. It should have been somebody else. Sure. Right. But just the whole vibe around it is bad. And it's not going to get better, by the way. Like we're going to go into 2026 and everybody's going to think that the world's burning. So be ready for it. But yeah, I'm not thrilled with the vibes. I think that there is a lot of cracks that are starting to show, And again, just the highlight of how unnecessary this was, right? People are talking about like, oh, Ronaldo asked to miss time with Portugal, but he didn't have to go on to a podcast and talk about it and defend himself. I don't even care about that. This is just a lose-lose situation. What did Pulisic think was going to happen? TAC manager and USMNT stand 901274 on Twitter are going to go and be like, oh, Christian came out and did a podcast. That's right. We're going to change our mind and not be upset at the fact that you're not here. Of course not. If he just sat there, let the media go through their cycle and let it die down after this group, Gold Cup, nobody would have had a problem with it. But he keeps bringing the attention on and bringing the attention on and stirring the pot, and it just I don't see the need for it personally. So your thoughts on that before we hit our last topic here?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree that he should have just been quiet on it. And I know people were probably pressing him to give an answer, but just like as best as you can, giving non-answers and just letting it die. Just let it die naturally. Like I don't necessarily think like I think people would have understood the decision without needing further context of listen, I just played 3,500 minutes, 4,000 minutes or whatever. Like I need a break. I want to make sure that I stay healthy. I don't want to risk an injury for club or country. Let people it's like it's I think similar to like how sometimes movies end, right? Like sometimes movies will really spell it out for you and not let you kind of make your own conclusions. But I think the best kind of movies is like it's left to interpretation. Like you fill in the gaps, you can kind of like put the pieces together how you see it, and that's how you view the ending to a movie. And it's like that's what he should have done here. Let people like put the pieces together for themselves as to like what the decision making process was and leave it at that. And things would have been in much better shape.
Yep, I think it's pretty good. Trinidad and Tobago are playing today. If you are listening to this when it gets posted, against the United States national team. Give me your preferred starting 11. Who do you want on the field to start the game?
Okay, let me know. I'm going based off of what the roster is on ussoccer.com. Let me know if any of these people have been switched out since then, but I'll stick with a 4-2-3-1. I would personally rather see Matt Freese in goal for this over Turner. I want to see a new face. I agree with you. I think Turner needs game time. The back line, give me Freeman at right back. Give me a center back duo of, I guess, Tim Ream and Chris Richards, and then Tolkien at left back. Midfield two of Tyler Adams and Luca Della Torre. And then I want the same front three from the Turkey game. Give me McGlynn, Tillman, and Luna. And then up top, I want to see Haji Wright.
Yeah, we're kind of close. Matt Freese has to start in goal. I don't want to see Matt Turner in there again. I think it'd be a problem. Freeman's got to start at right back. If I see Nathan Harriel, I'm not watching. Chris Richards and Miles Robinson paired really well against Turkey A, so keep him there. Put John Tolkien on the left. I think Max Arston has something there, but again, if we're Trinidad and Tobago, you might get away with it, but I don't see Max Arston there long term. Delatorre and Adams in the middle too. I think they were fine. I love the way that Delatorre tried to progress the ball, and we know what Adams can do as a destroyer. McGlynn, Tillman, Luna, front three, no problem. I gave Pat the start here, but you could put anybody up there. It doesn't really matter. But against Trinidad and probably against Haiti too, I think this will be a good time for them to get their confidence up and boost. I've got, potentially like Haji Wright as a striker or like a Jack McGlynn fit because he's a wide player as well. Aronson can come in those wide areas as well. And then you've got kind of just the rest of the group. So yeah, we're close there. It'll be an interesting match. We hope everybody enjoys it because let's be real. Nobody's going to enjoy this. Everybody's going to complain and have a problem and whatever. But we hope you do enjoy it. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Designated Players and MLS podcast. See ya.